And I know you guys didn't hear anything I said because my mic was turned down. And that's what you get here at Drone Tech Politics, the most amateur hour that you can get. Hey, what's up, Robert? Are you there?
I'm here, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't see you though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'll try to fix it here.
Oh, it's okay. Um, so yeah, everybody, if you're interested in coming into Discord, I will be putting the link. Here we go. We got Robert now. Let me bring him in on this. Let's see here. Is that one? Oh, there we go. Let me just make you smaller. Full screen. There. What's up, man?
Not much. So much was just doing a little video, and yeah, great to be on.
Hold on 1 second. They can probably hear you through my mic, but 1 second. Jeez, it's always something. 1 second. Gotta get my audio correct here because apparently it's not right. I'll just add another one. Not sure why that's not right. Speakers for some reason. Oh, I should probably actually be going through the headphones. Let's do that. Sorry, guys. 1 second. We'll get started here. All right, here we go. I think they can hear you now.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you should
Trust
be able to. Okay, I see you coming through now. All right. So we got people flowing into the live chat. If you guys want to take part in our discussion here, it's going to be Robert and I here for just a minute, but then we're going to go into Discord chat and see what other people have to say. So if you'd like to join us, I will be putting that link in the chat here in just a moment. But welcome, Robert. I just got done watching you give an amazing live stream like you always do. I mean, you're dead on about all this stuff, and you're probably gonna have to talk about it more because that's pretty much what I want to talk about. But just to kind of just start this off, and I do have something to talk about in regards to Discord, but I'll do that later. But I've seen this video, and I know you touched on it during your stream. This new video of these two policemen pulling over a white guy and just spraying this dude down with pepper spray and all this stuff. Have a real hard time with him. They get him out, and then out of nowhere he's got a gun. He shoots both the police, and it's a pretty horrifying video. But it's fun, and I don't recommend anybody watch it only because it completely ruined my day. I mean, I was having a good day today up until I saw that. But
yeah,
so that what I basically think is what we're going to see. We're going to see more of that, and it's twofold. It's one. That we got these extremists out there who are, basically getting messages not only from the media and from their extremist BLM leaders, or at least one of them, the New York chapter, I believe, saying that, he's forming a militia to take on the police or whatever. So you got that element going on, and I guarantee we're going to see more ambushes of police. And then on top of that, you have police afraid to use any kind of, real force. And then they're going to pay, they're going to end up being killed because of it. And I think that's what you see in that video.
yeah.
So,
I mean it's
something, man.
Yeah, you always hear about this in sports. They would always say, if you play not to get hurt, you end up getting hurt because you're like, you're not going your full strength. It's a fine line. Like if we're just talking strategically, it's a fine line anyways. Being a cop even before this was an incredibly difficult job. Not to say that I haven't criticized law enforcement when I thought they've done dumb things or horrible things. I have, and I think a lot of the policies they're forced to enforce are stupid as well. Not a big fan of a lot of the war on drug laws and other things like that, civil forfeiture and things like that. However, now we can see that it's just amped up tenfold. So you're seeing that this has a negative effect in every single aspect. So, for example, we see the Ferguson effect, which is the idea that police are afraid of exactly this type of situation, that they'll either be killed or if they have to defend themselves, they'll have their lives ruined. So they just don't go into these communities. That's resulted in New York City, for example. Shootings are up 177% since George Floyd's death, and they've defunded the police. And that same story is playing out all across the country. So, yeah, it's predictable. It's horrible. The groups that it's going to disproportionately affect the most are the police and their families and inner city blacks, because they're the communities that will no longer receive policing. And so crime and homicides will spike in those communities. And so all of your wealthy, white, left-wing friends that knew so much more than you and are so much better people than you, I'm sure they'll be happy with the blood on their hands now. And they'll be quite reticent to call out the shootings like the ones you're talking about here or the one in Compton where, Black Lives Matter celebrated the shooting of two police officers and blocked the ambulance from getting in.
Right. And then what do we hear? I mean, it was predictable, but what do we hear everywhere? Oh, there's no evidence that this is linked to BLM. And it's funny because I agree, because you can't take one guy's shooting and blame this whole movement, even though people are calling for violence. I mean, if we're consistent, we can't say that like they're all violent, because they're not. But that's not the standard that our side is held to. You look back at the Tea Party or the lockdown protests or any protest that's ever against Democrats, and we are framed as like the most horrible monsters imaginable. But yeah, like you said, it's like these people were actually out there celebrating. Then they go to the hospital, and you actually have NPR journalists attacking police that were trying to make arrests, and going in there and trying to exert themselves. Like these people are like emboldened. They're extremists who are emboldened, and they're being emboldened by the Democrats and the media. But unfortunately, those are the people in control of most of the information flow. So, I mean, all we can really do is like, it sucks because all we can really do is talk about it, go out on Twitter and tweet about it. I mean, what else is there? I mean, not to sound like real defeatist, but.
Right. No, I agree. They're saying my audio level's way higher than yours, just to let you know. But okay. I don't know if you can do. I don't know what I can do. Is that better, guys?
How's that?
Yeah, I'll keep talking. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I've said, and I know I've talked to you about this ever since I first started talking to you, but I've been talking about it since 2015. The problem with Antifa and Black Lives Matter isn't that there are a bunch of racist, terroristic thugs in those organizations. Certainly there are. But we see other organizations like the KKK, the neo-Nazis, they share that feature with them. The difference is, the thing that makes Black Lives Matter and Antifa so much more dangerous is that they are backed up by people with institutional power. So you're right that I myself defended Bernie Sanders when one of his supporters shot Steve Scalise. Now, I called him out for being a hypocrite because he criticized Trump when a conservative shoots someone. He says, this is Donald Trump's fault. This is the right-wing rhetoric's fault. But then when one of his supporters shoots someone, what does he say? Oh, it's all sides violence. Right, yeah. So but I did defend him, and I said, look, every side will have extremists. Here's the difference, though. Can you show me after Charlottesville one Republican city councilman, one Republican media person, one Republican in academia, just one, saying, well, that girl had it coming. Yay, this is great. The chickens have came home to roost. This is the start of a revolution. Yet I could show you dozens of that when these cops got shot from not just extreme left-wing YouTubers. I'm talking city council people. I'm talking people in academia. I'm talking a person that Garcetti, the LA mayor, referred to oftenly in his, quote, cultural competency meetings and how to police in Los Angeles. So the difference is this. It's not just that there's a few extremists. There's way more than a few in Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And it's the fact that they have all of this institutional power behind them. And here's the other thing. Like, yeah, okay, let's play devil's advocate. And you're right. Let's try to say, well, how can we say that all Black Lives Matter is represented by the couple dozen that showed up around that hospital and chanted that they wanted the police officers to die and they were trying to block the ambulance? Fair enough. But where's the condemnation been from Black Lives Matter? Furthermore, when Black Lives Matter and Antifa in the Chaz zone, when they murdered a 16-year-old African-American kid, not only did they murder him, they put 30 bullets into this car, and then you could hear the audio where they said he's still breathing, and then shot him. Where was their condemnation there? And again, it's like you said, if anyone, no one remotely paid lip service to Richard Spencer or his group when Charlottesville happened. Everyone said that the death of that girl was heinous. Everyone said that if it was murder, the guy should be charged. Yet we were told over and over, you have to condemn it. You have to condemn it by name. You have to say specifically who the group was. Mm-hmm. Yet when Antifa goes out and shoots a Trump supporter in Portland, did the media go nuts and say, Joe Biden, why aren't you calling out Antifa? Of course not. No one, show me a prominent politician that called out Antifa after that.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah, you mentioned the Bernie shooter. I always think back, there was a CNN, Alyssa Camerata did an interview with one of the Republicans. I can't remember his name, but Mo or something. But she actually put him on the defensive. They were talking about that because they were playing a baseball game, like the baseball game that they were supposed to have played. And she's like, well, it's bad that, this happened and, that. But what, don't you think that Republicans should check their rhetoric? And she was like putting him on the defensive, and that's just how it goes every time, unfortunately. And
look, here's the thing. This, Drontek. You've seen people, and I think I won't say that I was left wing. I think socially I was more left wing. I was more of a libertarian / conservative. But I know you. I mean, you say that you were more left leaning, right, when you were in
Yeah.
college.
Yep.
So you know this. Here's what happens. Did you see the video? I was talking about this in my stream, but did you see the video of the guy who's live streaming right after those 2 cops were shot in Compton?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's saying they just got aired out.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They got to
yo,
air
that's
it
how
out.
we do.
N-word. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that guy's a sociopath? I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. I see
You
where
know
you're
what
going,
he
but
is? You know what he is? He's a Democrat.
right.
That's what he is. Because if you're told every day of your life the police are all racist, why wouldn't you celebrate when they're shot? What we are seeing is not a bug from Joe Biden voters. It is the feature of
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden voters. And that is, if you believe this is a racist country, if you believe law enforcement is racist, if you believe Trump likes Nazis and Trump supporters are Nazis, then you're okay with violence against them.
Right.
And that's why we're going to see more of it. And when it happens, and we see that district attorneys and police chiefs and mayors constantly let the same people riding out of jail over and over and over, and there's no consequences, they're literally LARPing their fantasies out, beating police, beating Trump supporters, beating
yeah.
conservatives, burning down, and there's no consequences.
Right.
That's why I was happy to see bail was set at $1 million in Lancaster. Good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Unless someone from the Biden campaign posts his bail.
The Bloomberg, right? He
Right.
sent in 100 million.
Well,
by the way, isn't that an interesting story?
Right. Well, right. It's just like all this stuff that would be huge news if it was, a Republican, and this is all
Right.
reversed. But yeah, I mean, you touched on something there, and it's something I want to talk about a lot, and we'll bring in the chat here in just a minute. But this is a lot of this stuff that the reason this is all dangerous. One of the main reasons is because the media and Democrats, everyone's just kind of parroting this rhetoric about systemic racism, and they say something is racist without having any evidence of it. I mean, as well as calling things murder when they don't really know that that's exactly what happened, right? And you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot this critical race theory. There's so many holes you can punch in it, and yet nobody ever even attempts to. There's no scrutinizing of it. It's just sort of put out there, and you're just supposed to believe it because it was on a sign somewhere. There's plenty to argue about. There's all these different factors. It's like I got into a little fight with somebody on Facebook, and I tried to explain it to him. When you have a police shooting, there's all these different layers to what happened. I mean, it may be clear cut. Like a couple years ago, the shooting where the black dude was not armed or anything, ran off, and the cop just gunned him down from behind, right? And that's like clearly
They planted a gun. Right. Yeah.
Right. Planted the gun too. Right.
Yeah.
So, but still, there's still layers to this stuff, and you can't just be like, it was murder and it was racism and it was systemic racism. The media constantly talks about conspiracy theories. That is a conspiracy theory. I mean, there's, especially when it comes to like critical race theory, it's called a theory, and for a reason. It's not proven by any means. It's not scientific. But anyway, there's a little bit of a rant there. But yeah.
No. Your critical race theory is just racism. I mean, consider
Right.
that. Okay, Black Lives Matter is based in the critical race theory model, which basically says that white people in this country are systemically or unconsciously racist, and that they should be forced to pay for the sins of their forefathers, and they have fragility and they have privilege and all this and that. That's racism. Judging people based on the color of their skin is racism. But Black Lives Matter is based on that. So one of the things I like to do is, oftentimes I don't trust like any of these federal agencies anymore, like after we see what the FBI's done and other groups like that. So for example, when we saw the FBI in Portland come out and say, oh, trust us, it's not left-wingers that are starting fires. Trust us, we've looked into it. Yeah, I could find 20 news stories of just this week left-wingers that have been arrested starting fires. Like, I don't believe the FBI. I'm sorry. But what's amazing is when you could take the left's own source to prove their insanity. So the big, they oftentimes want these big prestigious universities or think tanks to do the research for them. So you argue with these leftists and they have nothing to say. And then finally someone will put out a report and they can say, I'll just point to this report even though I know nothing about it.
Right.
So in the case of Black Lives Matter, it's this Princeton study, which I don't know if you saw it, but it said that 93% of the locations that have had Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful. And they were like, see? So that proves it. So let's assume that number is true. And I think that it's probably close to that because there's little towns like I live in that had peaceful Black Lives Matter protests and you didn't hear about it. Are you telling me that if the Tea Party, if 7% of the time, that every time the Tea Party had a rally, it resulted in burning down the city or someone being murdered, that the left would have been like, yeah, it's a totally cool group, totally
Right.
reasonable?
Right.
Like, they're acting like the fact that 7% of the time that Black Lives Matter gets together, cities are going to burn down and people get murdered. That's not a big deal.
Right.
That's horrific. That's bigger than I thought it would be. And so, like, their own data proves how insane this movement is. And if you don't think that that's a big deal, that 7% of the time, the same people, right? And I don't know if you heard me talking about this in my stream.
Mm-hmm.
I think what? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. 700 to 800,000 law enforcement officers
Right.
in the United States.
Yep.
Let's assume that each of them have one interaction with someone a day. So we'll lower it down. This is a lowball number. 500,000 police interactions with civilians a day. And we're talking about 14 unarmed blacks shot last year. That's like 0.000000001%.
Right.
Compared to 7% of Black Lives Matter riots get violent.
Right.
So I mean, their own rationale makes no sense, but it doesn't have to, because critical race theory is based in postmodernism. They reject the idea of the truth. They say there is no such thing as the truth, and so facts don't matter to them. They make stuff up. And the next time you're talking to one of these people on the left and you're like, how can they just ignore these basic facts? Just understand, they don't believe
supremacy and all this kind of, it's like, yeah, any sort of like response you would have to them, they just find some sort of like rule or rationalization for why that's not relevant, not because of any like logical response that they've given you, but just because they've come up with some crazy roundabout way of just dismissing what you've said or casting you as some sort of like fringe. Part of the problem here is that, another part of it is that the media puts out these, and part of it is that they don't show it when it happens to white people, and they'll say, oh, well, that still means the police are bad. It's like, but yeah, but you know, we might not have this racial division if they saw that this is really kind of happening across the board. And then when you really dial it in, it's like most of the shootings that are happening in these inner city bad areas. Many of these areas patrolled and run by African Americans, by the way.
Yep.
But they've internalized racism and all that. But the you know, CBS and these other outlets have been putting out this thing: 134 African Americans shot by the cops or killed by the police just in 2020 alone. And they just sort of blanket put it out there, and it's like there's all these, I was talking about it earlier, there's all these layers, there's details and factors that you need to take into consideration. You don't even know if that's a legit shooting by the police because they just kind of blanket say they're all bad. I played on one of my videos, I played an interview I did with somebody at one of the anti-gun rallies, and I asked him that question. He immediately ended the interview after I asked him the question. So it's like,
right.
It's like, have they even considered this? Like, I don't know. It's really weird. But you guys, I don't want everybody in there talking, please. All right, guys. So I want to bring all you guys in here one at a time, please. We'll start at the top with Jacob. You guys hear me? Oh, hold on.
I can't hear them. Should I just join your Discord chat? That's fine.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead and join now. We'll go ahead and... I should be able to
I'll
hear
end
them.
this call then.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, for some reason I can't hear. 1 second, guys. Sorry. It should be working. I don't know why it's not. Headphones. Should be working. Headphones. Can you guys hear me? Oh, it's probably because my mic's in use or something. 1 second. There we go. Hello? Why does it keep... I have no idea why it's doing that. It just every time I jump in there, it calls. Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, I just don't know what's happening here. Just like randomly my sound's not working. Alright, I'm just gonna get out of Discord and come back. Sorry guys. Had a good thing going there, man. Yeah, I should have way more subscribers. I'm really showing it off here. Man, It sounds like I'm sick or something. I'm not. I just have really bad allergies, and they're just hitting.
Are you there?
Today. There we go. I think I'm in.
No. No, he is not.
Hello? Hello?
There he is.
Drone? Yep, I can hear you.
Aha, all right. Not sure what was going on there. All right, guys. So, you heard what we were talking about. Everybody hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start at the top with Darth Jacob. I mean, what's your take on this as far as like? I mean, I know you don't buy in this stuff, but are they getting this idea that our police are just like running rampant over black people in this country? Because, like Robert was pointing out, this is just not the case. I mean, literally, a black man has a better chance of getting hit by lightning than shot by a cop. And one other thing I'm gonna throw out there: why is the media not just? Why aren't we having PSAs that tell, young black men or anybody, just put out to anybody, don't fight the cops. Don't fight the cops. Instead of that, if you think you're being wronged, this is the process you go through to sue the department. And it's like, why fight the police? What's the point? But they act like black people can't do that. They act like black people can't, not commit violent crimes and murder. It's crazy to me. But anyway, go ahead.
Drone.
Yeah,
Drone.
well, I think that the thing is, the thing about police misconduct, I've actually seen it before. Like, I remember back in Australia that a former police officer actually exposed police brutality of a guy in Service Paradise. And instead of the officers who did the misconduct, the guy who exposed the misconduct, the police officer, got charged with abuse of office and other corrupt charges, and he got acquitted for it. So it's not just, I actually understand how police misconduct, people get angry they cover up the misconduct, but I kind of feel like that the violence, the protesters are doing just makes things worse, The media, the radical left-wing activists, the Democratic politicians, they're the ones who actually promote division. And instead of offering solutions so there can be better accountability and good cops out there, these, what I call sycophantic, rabid animals, just want to cause division just so they can tear this country down. That's how it's going to happen. They don't care about giving good solutions to make police better so that police can do their job and making sure to hold the bad ones account without all this media sensationalism, newspaper dramatization, how I can pronounce it better. It's all about division. That's all they want, not solutions. They talk too much. They blah too much. All they want to do is just.
There's no solution other than burning it all down. Apparently, what do you think?
There is a solution, but they have not, I think, acknowledged it. Which is body cams, in my mind, have done far more to exonerate police and indict bad behavior than anything else, and they seem to ignore the fact that, especially the cops who've been lied about, and they basically said, here's the body, or even that case, the most recent one in Lancaster. Here's this terrible thing. They were telling the story where it was like, oh, they shot a 14-year-old.
Hey, Eric, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
No, I heard just fine.
Yeah, I heard you just fine.
Yeah.
No,
Right,
I just can't hear her talking.
Really?
And, it's kind of low to me
on,
for some reason.
That's on your end, because I hear her just fine.
Before I was getting
No, I just
feedback
can't
that
hear Aaron, so.
Okay.
Well, that was Brian's sensitive ass.
I think you're absolutely right, Aaron. I think that's one of the real world solutions we can do. The problem is, what you can see, and I said this a long time ago. So if you heard Drone Tech and I were talking about, there was this case where the cops, there was clear video, the cop shot a guy running away in the back, a black man, then planted a gun. That cop got life in prison, I believe, deservedly so. It was a brutal murder. Everyone agreed with that. There's a reason that Black Lives Matter and Democrats don't focus on those cases. There's a reason that they picked Trayvon Martin instead of that case, or Michael Brown, because they don't want the clear-cut cases. Because the truth is, we're not all a bunch of racist scumbags that are like, yes, we're okay with police killing black people. That's not what 99% of this country is. So when we see a heinous police action, we say, yeah, they should be brought to justice over it.
Well,
Instead,
but what you almost never hear about are the heinous actions against police that are exposed through body cams. In fact, they've gone so far as to say body cams are a civil rights violation, which to me is insanity.
I found out that I accidentally may have muted Aaron, so I can hear you now.
But
accidentally?
I just found out you were muted. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, accidentally.
Right.
But yeah, just real quick to finish. Yeah, like, so what happens is, you see this situation like Lancaster. Like, you're right, the body cams, the police should all want the body cams, because what ends up happening is, it turns out Black Lives Matter and all the people pushing this are liars. They're not really concerned about the heinous police interactions. What they're really concerned about is any police interaction.
Yeah,
right.
And they think that cop should have got murdered. They think that Rittenhouse should have got murdered. They think they should be allowed to attack with impunity based on their political beliefs or their skin color, and that the rest of us should just be their victims. We don't have the right to police. We don't have the right to defend ourselves.
Well, and here's the thing.
By any means necessary.
And you know they want them dead just because of the LA shooting. They blocked the entrance to the hospital chanting, "We hope you die."
And they called them murderers, the people who were shot, one of whom was, we found out later, a librarian prior to becoming a cop. Yes, the librarian cop had to go down. That would
be a case of manslaughter if that officer died. And
that's intentional homicide. I don't see how that would be manslaughter. How could that possibly be manslaughter?
Manslaughter and murder. Murder must have intent. Manslaughter has no intent.
That guy intended for them to die.
When you shoot a cop, you intend for them to die.
He hit one of them twice in the head, I think they said.
Yeah, they were both shot directly in the head.
The woman got shot in the face.
Yeah.
Not only that.
The cop died. The guy who shot him would have been charged with murder. The protesters who actually interfered with it would have got charged with manslaughter.
But not only that, even the protesters that were blocking the ambulance, they had intent for him to die.
They were chanting, "We hope you die. We hope you die." There's intent. My thing is you're at the hospital.
Second-degree murder.
My thing is you're already at the hospital. Just run them the fuck over. They've got medical care right there.
And enjoy it as you thump the second wheels.
So here's my question, guys. Here's my question. Like, and we've kind of been circling around this, dancing around it, but I don't see like there's any other end game at this point other than a conflict. I mean, I don't want to see that, but like, how can we ever pull back from this? Like, I think the Democrats think that they're going to be able to. I think Democrats think that once they get in, they'll have the media to just kind of toe their line and they can work together to calm things down. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we can come back from this.
No.
Well, for now, I don't think we would come back from this.
Robert next.
I think, but after this, you know, I think that once the worst happens, it will all calm down. But what the worst could happen is a lot of protesters being shot and killed. You know, it could be like, imagine this. It could be like how should I put it? Like there was a scene in 1998 in which a bunch of two guys with AK-47 started shooting cops. I think this could be like a sort of North Hollywood shootout sort of thing, like a gun battle in a city.
Oh, we're definitely going to start seeing armed conflict.
I mean, we're already seeing that.
We're already seeing that, yeah.
No,
go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that can stop a violent mob is violence. It's, well, not violence, that isn't the word, it's force. Right? What you would like to see is for, do you guys know who the Weinstein brothers are? Eric and Brett Weinstein, leftists. They started like the intellectual dark web with Jordan Peterson and them. Brett Weinstein said on his podcast that humans giving the monopoly of force to law enforcement was the best things humanity has done since deciding not to defecate where they eat. Like, it's literally
well, not everybody's on that page yet, so give it time.
I agree, but no. But I agree. But the point is, that's how important it is to allow the monopoly of force to be through law enforcement. That doesn't mean law enforcement will never mess up. But here's the problem: I meant
the defecating thing. I was talking about the
well,
defecating.
okay. Well, that speaks for itself, I would say. But so what you end up seeing is we've had an infiltration of our law enforcement in all of these institutions. So what's happened is we're in a place we never thought we would see, or at least I didn't think we'd see for years, which is we have law enforcement being told they're not allowed to stop the violent riots. And so what happens next is inevitable. The violence won't stop until it's met with force. If law enforcement won't use force, then people will. And we can see what the next result is going to be. That's Kyle Rittenhouse. So then when you use force to defend yourself, you'll be attacked by law enforcement. So
I think there's this somewhat more optimistic option, which is containment. If it's actually a small number of people willing to use force, theoretically the feds could arrest enough of them and create enough of a deterrent that they calmed it down first.
But you just said it, the feds. What if
Yeah.
the feds are unwilling to do it?
I agree with you on that. That's the only path I see to any kind of less bloody resolution.
So here's you want to hear it? Like no one's going to want to hear it here. You want to hear what the least bloody path is?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. Vote Joe Biden.
Oh no.
No, that's true.
Right, because
That's true.
Well, you think they'll be able to quell it all?
That's, I think, the selling point of Joe Biden's team right now. I'm not buying it.
But that's what it is.
Well,
though.
it's the truth. It's their voters doing it.
Right.
And so
But then a bunch of police are going to get killed, I think, and eventually they're going to start reacting, and the people are going to start reacting. I don't think that's the bloodless path.
They'll be
I
less
don't
violent.
think that's. I don't think
Well,
that's.
hear me out.
Better off. Oh, I think it would be better off if people who want to cause violence should deserve to be killed because there's an old saying, a dead person doesn't repeat things again.
But how do you decide who's going to cause violence? We just kill everyone who says I'm with Black Lives Matter?
There's a lot. Well, that's the point. Like, who's going to cause violence? Like, agree, who's going to cause violence? But the fact of the matter is, I think there is common sense of what is violence. Wanting to commit harm, wanting to commit property damage, wanting to cause trouble.
I agree, but I don't think we could. I don't want like some kind of pre-crime where we execute people because we think that they're advocating.
You did not enjoy Minority Report?
I didn't.
We're not advocating executing people. If they decided in action, decide to cause violence, then they ask what they ask for. They get shot. Simple.
I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, I don't want to see someone throw a beer bottle at police and then get a bullet in the head. I think that's a bit extreme. But let me just real quick go back to this Biden thing. I'm not advocating voting for Biden. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm telling you, and this is the honest to God truth, we will see less riots if Biden wins.
I don't see, and I don't agree. I think we will see delayed violence. We will not see an end to it. I think first off, they don't have as much, but they don't have as much control over the left as they think.
So
that's all true. But again, here's the difference. They will unleash law enforcement to do their job. Bill de Blasio will not leave New York City be overran by Antifa and Black Lives Matter if Joe Biden's president. He won't let it. He'll say, law enforcement, arrest them. Don't let them get out on bail. That's what'll happen. And then Black Lives Matter, most of Black Lives Matter, the people that are orchestrating this, they're on board with Joe Biden. They're on board with Joe Biden anyways, right? But the ones that aren't will quickly realize, and this is what I've been telling them, they're not going to, you think that you're going to win? You think if you're Antifa or Black Lives Matter, that when Joe Biden's elected that he's going to go along with you? Of course not. He's a corporate shill. They're just going to crack down on them. Now, here's the thing though. If we give in to the mob and we say, well, we're afraid of you, so we'll vote for Joe Biden to have this stop, then we've sealed our fate as the country. Because the next time you try to vote against Democrat, they'll burn it down 10 times worse. So it's a bad strategy, but if you're talking, literally, that is the quickest way to end the violence. The quickest way to end, for example, the quickest way to end ISIS from torturing people is to give ISIS everything they want. That's true.
I think that's a way to delay it. That's not a way to stop it.
Well,
Hey, why are the leaders of all these socialist movements Jews?
Oh God, here we go.
Oh God. Okay.
Gentlemen, extraordinaire.
Oh my goodness. I bet this is actually going to get censored in Germany.
That's just fun.
I'm pretty sure it's about to get censored.
Well, I mean, the leader of Black Lives Matter is Jewish. I just think that's weird.
That's fundamentally not true. Like Louis Farrakhan's one of the big intellectual leaders. Louis Farrakhan's one of the big intellectual leaders, and he's certainly not what we would consider traditionally Jewish. Neither are the Black Hebrew Israelites, which actually they're one of the group's larger responsible. In fact, we
Quick,
see that
everybody sing Hava Nagila and it'll negate the whole thing. Quick, does
one of
anybody
the
know the
groups,
I don't know. I should
I
find
don't.
it quickly.
One of the groups most targeted by sort of this idea. Remember, the Nation of Islam, led by Louis Farrakhan, did security at the funeral for George Floyd. So they are central to what the violence that we see, this sort of black supremacy that's coming out of the wing of the Black Lives Matter. The Nation of Islam has also ramped up anti-Semitic attacks in New York City. So your characterization is just completely false. Completely false. Now, are there people that maybe have Jewish background that are involved with black? I'm not saying there aren't any. But
So
the idea that
the leader of Black Lives Matter isn't Jewish?
Is Louis Farrakhan Jewish?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Louis Farrakhan's Jewish.
He's
Of course not. He hates the Jews.
I was going to say he's patently anti-Semitic and quite
Right.
vocal about it.
The thing about Louis Farrakhan, he could have involvement, from my understanding, in the murder of Malcolm X, because Malcolm X had a falling out with Nation of Islam, and I think that the Nation of Islam and the FBI covered it up.
Right. But this gentleman's just completely wrong. And if you're trying to use this as some sort of attack on Israel or Jewish people, it's incredibly immoral and just
no, not at all. I just think it's weird.
Hold on. So which leader are you talking about?
Exactly.
Hold on. Which leader are you talking about?
Well, the leader of Black Lives Matter is Jewish, and
Well,
George
what
Soros
leader?
Who is it? Who is
the
it?
leader?
Can you give me the name?
I forgot her name, but
Because I'm looking at it right now. It's three colored ladies: Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometa.
Well, those are the founders. Those are the three founders.
Yeah.
Those aren't necessarily. There's many leaders.
Yeah.
Aren't they all Marxists? Is really their religion?
Alicia Garza.
Black Matter is decentralized.
She's the trained Marxist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they all are.
trained Marxist.
Two of them are.
Wait, what's her name?
Alicia
Garza.
Oh, okay. Did you guys see this? He mentioned about the security being, and it's kind of unrelated, but did you guys see that one of the protesters that was there calling, the deputies that were in the hospital murderers and all that, actually worked on Mayor Eric Garcetti, worked with him
saw that.
cultural competency workshops. This is more of that critical race theory bullshit. That's why this guy is working.
Right.
Oh, I couldn't. If that's the case, then I wouldn't be surprised if the mayor had involvement.
Had involvement in the killing? Or in the shooting, I mean?
No, in the protests,
They've
like,
been heavily involved in the protest.
I mean, they're funding they're funding BLM. So is Discord, which we're using here, which I kind of want to talk about too. It was brought to my attention by another user that, Discord openly, when you log out and log back in, is openly supporting BLM on their right there when you log in, which is odd to me. I mean, an organization that literally has a body count, like the Tea Party, they were portrayed basically as the Fourth Reich or something, and now BLM literally, I mean, how many cop ambushes do they have under their belt? They'll never be attributed to BLM, but like one of them happened at a BLM rally, and then the media came out and said, oh, no, he wasn't into BLM. Okay, sure. And like, we're not supposed to believe that most of these black people that we see in these videos aren't supporters of BLM. Of course they are. And they're Democrat voters. Like Rob was pointing out, and these are Joe Biden voters.
Right. And I mean, this is the truth. I mean, again, I know it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but I think we could all agree on this panel, and hopefully all objective people, that any sort of movement could have fringe extreme people on it. Like, that's possible. I'm a Ron Paul supporter. Somewhere out there are Ron Paul crazies, right? Like, don't get me wrong. The thing that makes this movement uniquely dangerous is that people in positions of power are totally supporting this. So, for example, when the KKK does something, heck, let's not even do hypotheticals. Look at Charlottesville. Find me the Republican councilman that defended that. Find me the Republican representative that defended that.
Right.
There aren't any. Imagine that if the guy at Charlottesville, right? Imagine that someone came out after Charlottesville and was like, good, I'm glad Heather Heyer died. This was the start of the revolution. And then you found out that guy was a community leader that was communicating with the mayor of Dallas, Texas. You would be like, they'd be like, oh my God, look at what Republicans are doing. Oh my God, this. But when it happens the opposite way, and it's not just one person, it's dozens. And that's just the people that are vocally saying the truth. For every one person that's out there saying, oh, I'm glad this happened, I'm glad these cops were shot, I guarantee there's 100 other people in academia, in media, in critical race theory that are like, yeah, that's how I feel. I just won't say it publicly. So, I mean, it's truly disgusting. And again, if you're out there and you're like, I don't follow politics much, I don't know what to think about this, just put the shoe on the other foot.
Yeah.
If this happened, if under the Tea Party, if the Tea Party murdered 30-something people, died as a result of hundreds of riots that the Tea Party was carrying out, and you had people on the right saying, good, we're glad people died, do you think the media would treat it so well?
Hey, Rob, have you watched the Netflix series Ozark?
I've seen the first 2 seasons.
I drifted off of it too, but yeah.
That's the perfect example of how politics works. They show you themselves in the whole series. And even the lady that is in there, one of the main characters, she admitted she was a Obama supporter. She actually campaigned for him, did all this stuff for him. And they had this real dramatic scene where she looked off in the distance on camera like, I believed in what he did, or I believed in what he stood for. You know, like, come on, like it was so left wing the entire time, but yet they ended up at the end owning guns, even though they were anti-gun because people kept coming after them. Like, it shows you exactly how the Democratic Party thinks, because you can tell in the series itself. From the first season, it wasn't that bad, but the second season and then the next, like, it just got worse and worse.
Well, guys, hey, I do want to kind of start to wrap this up only because I'm going to go over to D Live after this stream, and we're going to stream the Trump Town Hall on ABC and just sort of watch it and comment on it. I'll keep Discord in here. I'm going to probably mute everybody until I'm ready for comments, just so everybody's not constantly talking over it. But everybody, I'll put the link in the chat. Head on over to D Live here in just a minute as soon as we're done here. And we'll be doing this again on Thursday. So this was just I decided just to do it tonight, start doing it Tuesdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 and 9 Eastern. And I'll always have Robert as long as he can be on. So I definitely appreciate you coming on, Robert.
Oh, no problem.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, and everybody should definitely go subscribe him. He's one of the best YouTubers out there, in my opinion.
Also attractive. Don't
It suddenly turned into a dating service. How did that happen?
My wife will not appreciate it. If I could give a moment of optimism to people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what every one of us could do. I'm assuming everyone, probably 98% of the people watching this right now, probably are, if you're not conservative, you're against what you see the Democratic Party coming. What I've learned is I spent so much time and energy pointing out the coup against Trump. And I know you've done so as well, Drone Tech. Drone Tech puts so much time and energy focusing on the media, right? So we're each approaching this. There's so many of us approaching from different angles. With the coup and with the media, I think that Drone Tech and I have devastated anyone who would want to talk to us about the infiltration of the ideological left and the establishment left and how corrupt they are. I mean, literally, we have...
Anti-Semitic.
What's that?
Oy vey, that's anti-Semitic.
The heck?
Okay, anyways, I don't know what your focus on Semitism is about.
He's really obsessed. He's really obsessed with it. But I let him stick around just because I think the best cure for that stuff is sunlight. Anyway, but go ahead.
Sure.
Continue.
So anyways, I thought with the coup, if you could prove definitively that we had our unelected bureaucrats in the intel agencies engaged against the coup with Trump, that would wake people up. It didn't. I was wrong. I underestimated it. But you know what the one thing we have left is? Why don't you tell your friends about the Netflix #4 movie in the country right now called Cuties? Because that's the last chance we have. These evil SOBs are legitimizing pedophilia right now. They have so much hubris. They want this country to be destroyed so much that they think we got this in the bag. We could just be open pedophiles now. That's why the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell was probably the biggest story in this country. Because it's hard to explain.
How should we treat is to treat them like they're scumbags, filth, disgusting people who are the filth of society. Because if we can convince people that they are promoting pedophilia, people will be angry. They will actually, these guys who promote this film will be in fear for their lives. They'll be in fear for their lives.
But look, what they've done is over time, and Burks is here, awesome. Over time, the media has sort of, they've demonized us and they've mocked us so much that, like, anytime there's something out there in the media that they don't want, that they want to bury, they'll just call it a right-wing conspiracy theory. And that, for a large chunk of the country, that's good enough, unfortunately. They've trained them well. And so that's, they literally have said that. And I haven't watched it. I'll never watch it. I've reluctantly watched clips. But I've seen screenshots and clips and I'm like, I cannot even believe there are people defending this. Like, really?
And this is why
I've seen the bit in which the girls were twerking.
There's way worse than that.
Absolutely sick. Like I felt sick. Like they would show their bottoms twerking. Like I actually promoted did a TikTok video in which I had my opinion on this, and at the end of the bit, I've actually got out a knife and I said they deserve to have their dicks chopped off.
Well, except a woman made it so a little harder to do that when you don't have one to work. But I will say this: remember, behind the scenes too, they set up front. They brought in and filmed over 200 girls twerking as part of the auditions. Now, how somebody, and I don't care, they're like, oh, well, they're French. He's different. No, he's not different. How did that get passed over and then into production? How did they find even 200 parents who would subject their children to that?
Okay, you realize there was a show all about fucking beauty pageants, right?
Yeah,
I live near Honey Boo Boo, so yes, I'm aware.
It sickens me what parents will do to their children. Sickens me,
Because
just so they can get the fame.
But even beauty pageants are not that overtly sexual. They're weird.
Was it necessarily fame or maybe money?
Pageants are losing money. That's got to be something different than that.
There's not all beauty pageants are the same. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
To this film seems to be. I mean, there have been questionable behavior on the part of parents, and they basically start when they're babies. And it is not something that's done, I can say categorically, it is not done for money because they don't make money off it. In fact, they generally invest huge amounts of money. It's something that really only wealthy families can afford to do.
What I was going to say about this is, look, the Maxwell and the Epstein thing, the reason that it's such a big deal is because the same people, and this is the case you need to be making people. By the way, I'm not teaching you to, I'm not telling people to lie to people. Just tell the truth. The same type of people that defended that Epstein killed himself and that this sort of stuff's not occurring, it's the same people that are telling you climate change is going to kill us all. And it's a systemically racist country. And all the cops are systemically racist. If you can start to crack into people like, do you see the people that are feeding you all this news? The 6 corporations that control the mainstream media, they simultaneously are defending what you can see is filth for your own eyes. Maybe it'll make you question, what else are they lying to you about? What else are they willing to destroy? And if they're willing to sexualize children and defend this, what are they not willing to do to obtain power? And so I think that that's an area that we could focus on. Don't leave these people. Because again, here's what happens. The left, the Democrats, the media, all of their all of the people in positions of power, they don't just say that they're right and you're wrong. They say that, but they also say you're immoral and they are moral. And so if you could win that moral argument by showing how disgusting these pigs are through things like the defense of this film and the defense of they're coming out of the woodwork defending pedophilia all of a sudden. I think that's an area we could have hope that hopefully people wake up to how it's not that they're just becoming disgusting. Are you surprised that the same people that wanted to have these regime change wars all around the world so they could kill people to get personally rich, or the people that want to bail out bankers and screw over, you know, like how Enron, they were defending places like Enron that were intentionally shutting off heat in places so old people died, or how we have Democratic governors that are intentionally sending COVID patients into nursing homes so they die. You think that they're beyond that if they're literally defending pedophilia in front of your eyes?
I
That
do
was just
think
what I was thinking.
So-
I do think
let
that's
me-
very true. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to say something. They don't care. The people that do care already know. Everybody else doesn't care. Most leftists, they support it. If you've ever seen footage from, say, a gay pride parade, while they walk around completely naked, performing sex acts in front of children, they don't care. If you've ever seen Desmond is Amazing, they don't care. They support it.
But
That's
there's a
not-
fabric.
That's not true.
inter-
That's not true.
There's
I mean,
an interconnected fabric of lies, though, because what is the favorite thing they used to defend cuties? It's an award-winning film. It won an award at Sundance, a festival co-founded by a twice convicted
Pedophile.
child molester. Yeah.
right. And I'm just saying real quick, the majority of people do care. They
Yeah,
just don't know.
and-
And that's who we need to win. Who wins this war? The establishment, corrupt people that want the United States to be destroyed, or us that are trying to wake people up? The truth is, whoever wakes up the large mass of people that are on neither side wins. And that mass of people, I'm willing to bet, are majoritarily going to be disgusted by pedophilia.
I think you underestimate how easily the masses can be manipulated.
Here's what I think
Not
should happen.
yet. Not with pedophilia.
Here's what I think should happen. Not only we should make sure that we should wake up the masses, but we should also try and get involved financially. Imagine the amount of people who would be willing to spend their money on the company's shares. If we buy a lot of shares, we can influence their policy. That way, we can actually stop their corrupt agenda. Just like the Free Enterprise Organization. Hang on for a second. Let me just find one. There's a company called the Free Enterprise Project, which has bought a lot of shares like Disney, Netflix,